The right to try. Colorado is the first state that legalized the use of recreational marijuana. Moreover, Colorado, along with Louisiana and Missouri, is poised for becoming the pioneer state in the nation to give terminally ill patients the right to try experimental drugs without the blessing of the Food and Drug Administration. Governor John Hickenlooper signed the Right to Try bill, which was passed unanimously in Colorado's state legislature. Proponents of the measures argue that patients desperate for treatments must navigate a lengthy, cumbersome process to get the FDA to approve early access to experimental drugs and to persuade companies to provide them. The Right to Try law is intended to cut through some red tapes of the existing compassionate use guidelines by essentially cutting the federal government out of the picture. Nick Auden died at age 41 after unsuccessfully lobbying 2 drug companies to use an experimental treatment outside of clinical trials. There are experimental drugs out there that can and do save lives, but the access needs to be expanded, said Auden's widow, Amy Auden. Mr. Auden had acknowledged that there was no guarantee that the drug would work. When you're terminal and there's a drug out there that might help you, it's sad that getting that drug is insurmountable, said State Senator Irene Aguilar, a physician who co-sponsored Colorado's bill. Opponents of the approach call it an ill-advised effort that circumvents federal law, undermines the drug development process, and threatens to harm more people than it helps by providing access to medications that haven't been proven safe and effective. The reality is more complicated than singling out the FDA, which approves almost all the requests it receives for compassionate use exemptions, said Arthur Kaplan, director of the Bioethics Division at New York University Langone Medical Center. He noted that the new legislation does nothing to compel cooperation from drug makers, who often are reluctant to hand out unapproved drugs for reasons including high costs, lack of adequate supply, and worries over liability. The FDA has declined to take a position on any of the state right to try bills, but in a statement, the agency claimed that it is concerned about any efforts that might undermine the congressionally mandated authority and agency mission to protect the public from therapies that are not safe and effective. However, we still need a government agency to set the rules for who should decide whether a drug is too risky to try at the end. Note: compassionate use. Patients with life-threatening conditions who do not meet the enrollment criteria for the clinical trial in progress are given access to the use of an investigational drug outside of a clinical trial. When the FDA receives a significant number of requests for individual patients to access an investigational drug for the same use, they may ask the trial sponsor to consolidate these requests.